Halo, halo, witamy serdecznie. Dziś ze studia w G2 Arena prowadzimy konferencję z Australią, drodzy Państwo. Inicjatywa Kongres 60 milionów z wiadomych przyczyn przeniosła się do świata internetu. Drodzy Państwo, Halo 60 milionów, Halo People to formaty, które już prowadzimy od 3 tygodni dla Państwa. Mieliśmy Hiszpanię, mieliśmy połączenie z Wielką Brytanią, ze Stanami Zjednoczonymi. Dziś Halo Australia. Łączymy się z jak dla nas najbardziej oddalonym od Rzeszowa miejscem na świecie. To pokazuje, że Polonia jest na całym globie i że warto się integrować i globalny zjazd Polonii realnie ma również miejsce w tych trudnych czasach. Drodzy Państwo, ja w G2A Arena występuję tylko w roli konferencjera, aby przywitać Państwa i zaprosić na konferencję, którą dziś z Australii poprowadzi pani Ewa Hussein, którą witamy również bardzo serdecznie. Witam pani Ewo. Konferencja dziś będzie poprowadzona w języku angielskim, natomiast dla Państwa informacja, że transkrypcja z językiem polskim będzie udostępniona w niedalekiej przyszłości i będzie można ją również odsłuchać z tłumaczeniem na język polski. A ja już w tym momencie, aby nie przedłużać, przekazuję głos do Australii.
Dziękuję serdecznie Panie Krzysztofie i przejdziemy teraz na język angielski. So I'm probably one of the biggest fan of the initiative of the 60 Million Congress. I've been to 4. The last one I went to was in Miami earlier this year. So I was actually planning to be out there to attend all of them from Chicago to Toronto to Rzeszów, but it didn't happen. So what I did want to say though is a big thank you for the initiative. Look, it's an amazing event that gathers together people from all over the world. And I wanted to take our hats off to the organizers, to Kamil, Bartosz, Zbigniew, and Grzegorz for their vision and hard work. It isn't easy to connect the Polish diaspora. There are 60 million of us. And it's a really genuine, fantastic effort. So thank you for making this happen. The reason that we're running this event in English is that there are 60 million of us, so 38 million Poles living in Poland and around 20 million outside of Poland, and many of them do not speak Polish well. So we're trying to, expand our horizons and include people that feel Polish but may not speak the language as well as people in Poland do. And there are also people that are not Polish that are very interested in this initiative. So, people married to Poles, people doing business in Poland, people studying in Poland. So this is why we're doing this in English. What I also wanted to say is to thank the organizers for moving this event online. And it's so challenging, it's so difficult when you have your whole year planned ahead and then something like COVID happens. So I think it's a fantastic way of connecting, and because we are hoping to bring this event to Australia perhaps in 2021, at least it'll give us a taste of what it's like. So a little bit about Australia. It's a very unique and diverse country. There's about, nobody really knows how many, but there's roughly about 150,000 people of Polish origin. So those born in Poland and those that may have Polish heritage. It's the 6th biggest country in the world, we speak about 300 languages here. So those of us that live here, they are aware of this and are quite comfortable with it. But when you hear about that, I think it changes people's perspective about what Australia is. As far as our population, I've looked it up. So let me tell you, there is currently 25,499,884 people in Australia. So just under 26 million, so not that many, and it's a very big continent, it's a very big country. What is Australia famous for? Many things, but for Polish people there are 2 things that we are proud of. One is Mount Kosciuszko, which we always correct people on. It's pronounced Kościuszko. The other one is Strzelecki Ranges, and it is pronounced Strzelecki. Let me tell you, but there's some real tongue twisters there. So watch this space. Anybody that's watching us right now that hasn't been to Australia, come and visit. Today we talking to us from two cities. One's Melbourne, the other one's Sydney. It's already 10 p.m. And we scheduled it in such a way that we can maximize the reach, and people from all over the world can watch us, I guess. And you know, we have been through some turbulent times. We're going to be talking about agility, and we're going to be talking about resilience, and we're going to be talking about leadership in challenging times. So these are the topics that we want to explore. So I'll tell you a little bit more about myself. I was born in Poland and immigrated to Australia in 1985 by a friend. So I've lived here ever since. I do go back to Poland quite a lot. I founded and I manage a company called Polaron. We do translations, interpreting, and we also help people reclaim European citizenship. We have offices in Melbourne, in New York, in London, and in Łódź, which is where I come from. Now, I have also been involved in quite a few Polish diaspora initiatives. I was on the board of Polish Community Council of Victoria, and currently I am on the board of Australian Society of Polish Jews. So very quickly moving on about the panel. I don't know about you, but I am online a lot at the moment, and I'm hearing all kinds of stuff from all kinds of places and all kinds of words that I don't really understand, to be honest. So we're talking about pivoting, and we're talking about agility, and we're talking about flexibility and all kinds of things. So, I think it's really hard to get your head around about, some of those topics. So luckily we have a very esteemed panel, which I'll introduce everyone to shortly, of people that have something to say about what's happening to us. They're fabulous, fabulous presenters, and it's an all women's panel, but we're not going to be discussing women's issues. We're going to be talking and sharing expertise because we have that expertise. It's got nothing to do with your gender. Yes, we are women. Yes, we do have a different perspective perhaps, but we want to share what we know, with everyone. So let me introduce our esteemed panelists. The first person is our Consul General, Dr. Monika Paszkiewicz. And I'll tell you a little bit about, we were wondering what to call her. So we're going to call her Pani Consul because we can't call her by her first name, or I can't anyway. Pani Consul Monika Paszkiewicz holds a PhD in law, and she also has a master's. She's got a 2 master's degree. One's in English philology and one's in biology. And she used to be a teacher. But prior to taking up her position in Sydney, she was the Pomeranian Chief Education Officer, and she's also been involved in National Section of Education of NSZZ Solidarność, and a member of the European Trade Union Committee for Education. She is a highly accomplished educator, and for her exceptional services, she was honored in 2018 by, she received a medal of the Commission of National Education, and then, sorry, that was not in 2018. 2018, Dr. Paszkiewicz received the Silver Cross of Merits for her outstanding contribution in the educational space and community initiatives. Pani Consul speaks 3 languages, not just English and Polish, but also Russian. And she is a proud mother of a daughter and a son. The next person I'm going to introduce to you is Dr. Anna Wojt. She is a director at PwC Australia. Anna is also the Global PwC Shared Service and Outsourcing Chief of Staff. She has over 17 years experience in leading transformation programs in Europe, Middle East, Africa, US, Australia, Southeast Asia, and New Zealand. As a global leader, she drives development of PwC methodologies and tools, leads PwC research, and assesses global shared services and outsourcing trends. Anna has advised clients on building and leading teams around the world. She holds a PhD in political science and international relationships, and is a member of the Australian Institute of Company Directors. I know Anna quite well, and I can tell you that she is a doer and one of the hardest working people you will ever meet, and someone that really inspires others and certainly inspires me. Below Anna on your screen, you can see Lucyna or Lucy Dymorh-Bak. She's a teacher. She's a tertiary teacher, also somebody I know personally. And she works with international students who are preparing for their university courses. So, you know, some major disruptions in that area. At the moment, Lucyna works at Monash College in Melbourne, but she has worked as a teacher in Poland and in Australia or in Europe for almost 20 years. She's also, if you don't know this, an RT certified professional interpreter, and she's very involved with the Polish community in Melbourne. She moderates the largest Polish community social media group in Melbourne, and she also organizes, you know, events for new Polish migrants, for students, and Polish women living in Melbourne. She's a mom of 2 amazing kids. She told me to say that in case the kids are watching. The next panelist is Aga Szczęśniak. She has 20 years of professional experience in international marketing and business development, which she gained while living and working in, listen to this, 7 countries, 3 continents, and 2 islands. And she's going to tell us about those islands, I'm sure. So she's held managerial position in industry dominated by men. So we're very, very keen to hear from Aga. She's lived in Japan, where she's worked in an IT company, one of the biggest ones. And she has, would you believe it, 5 business degrees. And her motto is,
nothing is impossible. Today,
Aga lives in Sydney. The next person we have to introduce is Monika Furman. She's a barrister at the Victorian Bar, and she specializes in commercial and prosecutions work. Her focus is employment law. In 2019-2020, Monika was recognized in the Lawyers Weekly Annual Awards as one of Australia's top barristers under 30. She is also the president of one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Polish festival in the world, which is Polish Festival at Fed Square. It's a non-profit organization, and she's responsible for running it. It is now in its 16th year, so a really well-established institution. Every year, around 50,000 people attends the festival, and not just Polish people. Monika's grandparents were born in Poland, so when we hear her speak Polish, it's so you know, it's so touching that she's able to do that. It's just really beautiful. Her grandparents came to Australia after the war. And now, last but not least, we have Bettina Skudlarek. I'm just getting her up on the screen so I can see. Hello. Bettina is an associate professor in management at the University of Sydney, Sydney Business School. Her interests or core research interests lie in the intersection of cross-cultural management, international HRM, and I'm sure you'll tell us what HRM stands for, and management of diversity. So her work has been published in many journals and international publications. And she's worked on a number of different multinational corporations on developing intercultural competence and fostering global leadership excellence. The other thing I should tell you about Bettina is that beyond her academic commitments, she holds the posts of Strategic Sustainability and Growth Consultant with the United Nations Alliance of Civilization. So as you can see, you know, quite a prominent and very well chosen panel members, if I may say so myself. So what I'm going to do now is hand over to our first panelist. But before I do, I wanted to say that there are many things that drive change. And we are, I think all of us right now, the entire you know, population of Earth, we're going through probably one of the biggest changes and biggest challenges that we have undergone as a generation. And I think it's fair to say that we don't know how it's going to pan out. We don't know what's going to happen. And this turbulence that we're seeing, it is experienced differently for all kinds of reasons. And it varies from individuals to groups. So with that, what I wanted to do is hand over to Pani Consul Monika and ask her simply, how are you going at the moment? Because being a diplomat, I think you must have been under the pump in the recent weeks. Have you found it tough? How are you going?
First of all, it's a great pleasure for me to be a part of a huge 60 million Congress. That's a great challenge for me. I think that I will manage to answer your question. First of all, let me start by saying that nobody was prepared for the pandemic times. Furthermore, some non-crisis strategic business, I think, strategic procedures can be unsatisfactory. In my opinion, we need to think relatively fast nowadays how to deal with pandemic biological crisis. We need to rethink our style of working, living, and so on. And it's a huge challenge with our professional and personal lives and dealings. Personally, I hate self-isolating. I love people. I love meeting with people, talking to people. I'm a talkative person. And as a Consul General, one of my main tasks is to build a network of contacts within Polish community, not only, but my main purpose is like that, and to be present at many events. So now my character of my job has changed drastically. I've started doing far more online conferences, telephone conversation, mail conversation, and with people and with other consuls, because we have the special consular network here. Definitely, I try to focus on positive way of thinking and dealing with my employees, because I'm a boss as well. And they helped me a lot during these difficult times. But on the other hand, I worry about my family. My daughter, she was to visit me in April, and she couldn't. And my mom, 75, living in Poland, and so 60,000 kilometers far from me. So on one hand, I'm worrying about my present job or work or activities. On the other hand, I also think about my family. And what I would like to say something about the character of a job that we all consular officers doing now. Because of the sanitary restrictions and the state and national border closure, we, the consular corps representatives, need to assist Polish people, Polish tourists, who desperately want to come back to Poland, to home country. Fortunately, in March and April, the Polish government, or with the Polish airlines, organized two special chartered flights, Sydney-Warsaw. All the time, we try to inform our citizens about all potential transport options via special platform Odyseusz. It's a very important platform, but not so many people know about it. Via social media, we are present at Twitter and very active. And our official webpage is systematically updated. We answer hundreds of mails, even during the night, and hundreds of calls, even during the night. So honestly, although we are all humans, we work 24 hours per day during the 7-day week. And what we observe, and I observe, that Polish tourists, Polish people have huge expectations, and they demand our consular assistance, even with organizing individual plane tickets to Poland. Therefore, we need to deal with their frustrations, anger, accusations. Believe me, it's a great job and challenge for me and my team. That's why we try to be well prepared. This is another part of our job in this difficult time. So we prepare all necessary legal, because we deal with international law, Australian law, Polish law. So we try to prepare in advance some solutions that I well prepared because of the law. We cooperate with many institutions, including Home Affairs in Australia, airlines, Qatar Airlines, for example, consular corps. We have very active consular network. Among other consuls generals, we sometimes we solve the problems of our citizens. I have prepared the special info with short specific notes to help us responding to numerous questions. I also prepared the special letters addressed to Polish communities, Polish school parents and students about online learning and educational materials. I also think about new recordings to be on video or YouTube, because as you can see, I wish to be present even on the computer screen. This is my job now. So not only be present on the events, but be present on the computer screen. So waiting for the post-virus times, I developed new ways to get in contact with people here in Australia and of course in Poland. I try to be active member of all networks, including consular ones, and Zoom meetings, YouTube meetings, Skype meetings, and WhatsApp group. So nowadays my job transferred to online job, but we are open. Our consulate in Canberra and embassy in Canberra and consulate in Sydney, we are still open. And it's really challenging because other consul generals, they told me during the meeting of other European Union countries that they are not open. We are open, we work during the day, we accept people with their problems. We deal with normal consular assistance, and believe me, during the nights, we answer the phones. So it's really challenging.
Yeah, it sounds really full on actually. What I was going to do now is hand over to Anna there in the left-hand corner. And what I was hoping to ask you, Anna, is what are some of the challenges you have faced, but not just challenges, what do you see as opportunities in this landscape that's so, perhaps confusing, and there's a lot of anxiety, and, there's a lot of uncertainty. Could you share some of your points of views with us, please?
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. And thank you, Eva, for inviting me. As always, it's so fantastic to join such a beautiful group of ladies, so smart and so intelligent. I'll try to somehow to share my own experience. I think I'll start at that 2020 would be probably remembered by all of us as one of the most difficult years for Australia. We started the year with tremendous bushfires. We had amazing and absolutely detrimental floods that destroyed a lot of our houses. And in March, coronavirus has reached out our homes. I think we all, at somewhere at the end of March, we were probably done with the year and very ready to start 2021. But it's still a few months in front of us. I think the one thing that for me personally, in those times which are so difficult, the one of the most complex is anxiety and the stress, which is related to unknown and uncertain times that are in front of us. For me, who spends probably most of her life traveling around the world and spending 6 to 8 months outside of Australia, I found actually a great pleasure that finally I can stay at home. So for me personally, those opportunities are in three things. The one is to rediscover home, to discover my friends and family around, to actually have time to go for a coffee and meet the person who makes that coffee and have just a simple chat and getting to know my neighbors. I think the second thing that is very important for me, and I found is a great pleasure, is to rediscover time itself, have a time for reflection, have a time to look on where we are, what we do, and really appreciate tiny little small things like a walk. Today, probably in the massive rain, because we had a lot of rains, which we cherish and we're very grateful for. And the last thing, I think I feel that in every challenge, in every crisis, there is an opportunity. And for me, that opportunity is in learning. I think it is such a great opportunity for us to upskills. You've mentioned that there's a lot of words in internet called, about agiles and digital and whatever we call it. But the truth is, regardless of COVID-19, we are on the edge of the fourth industrial revolution. And that revolution is coming if we want or not. It means that the technology that we are using today, being able to connect with 60 millions, it is around us. And I wanted to use that time to learn more, to rediscover more, to think about how can I be more connected with my teams? How can I support my clients in a better way? And how can we reinvent what we're doing on a regular basis?
So Anna, tell me, with that in mind, and you do manage a lot of people, how has that affected your team? And could you maybe say, I guess share some ideas about how to inspire or motivate or support people that you work with?
It's a good one, right? Because in the past, and I think before COVID, the way of us managing the teams was to travel to those different parts of the world, meet them in person, and spending hours and hours moving from one place to another. Today, this is impossible, but I think I spend more time with them, actually dedicating a time to meet them as a person. And what I really cherish is using the technology to be more connected, but not on a work basis, but really on a personal basis. I really enjoy that, today you have a sneak peek to my kitchen and you can see what is behind my back. And that's allowed us to really be reconnected. And probably the biggest advice for me and what I'm trying to encourage everyone is to use that time not only to move the business, but predominantly to dedicate that time to meet the people around us, to spend some time with them, to get to know them, to understand their situation, but also have a little bit fun. I mean, what I do with my teams, we would have a Thursday drinks, or we would have a morning virtual coffee. And regardless of if we are together or not, try to cherish those moments that allowed us to stay better connected and work together in a slightly different way.
Thank you, Anna. I'll switch over to Bettina, because the question that I have for you, and you do specialize, that's one of the things that you specialize in, is leadership. So what I wanted to do is for you to frame it within the last 2 months. What sort of leaders are we seeing? Are they agile? Are they resilient? Have they fallen into a heap? What are you observing? What are you seeing? Could you maybe tell us a bit more about that?
That's a very good question, and I'm very happy to be able to talk about it in such an excellent company. So thank you for inviting me. We are pondering upon this leadership issue and what is an effective leadership in today's world and today's situation. And we literally just got an expertise of numerous leadership scholars and practitioners to reflect what they think. And the interesting thing we discovered is it's very difficult to predict what is really the one recipe, because sometimes it might be a matter of almost some type of luck. Because when Scott Morrison in Australia closed the borders, despite the advice from the World Health Organization and all the other bodies, everyone was saying what's going on and what type of leadership is that? Is it more populism rather than leadership? Now everyone is turning to Australia saying maybe that was the best thing that saved lives. Now 3 months from now, we don't know what's going to happen. Will there be possibility that Australia hasn't built the herd immunity that other countries have, and we are going to face another problem? Nobody knows. So there is a lot of flexibility that we see, a lot of humility that we see among leaders who can admit that they were not right, that they don't know everything, that there are people smarter than themselves who might possess the knowledge they need. And there is a lot of empathy. So I think the leaders that we see being praised are those who understand the fears that might be happening, and those fears are different in different countries, in different circumstances. And they really relate to people and their perspectives and build a realistic preview, but full of hope of what the future can look like, and mobilize people not by fear, but by vision of future that is hopeful and links to whatever the fears that the people might be having.
And what about trust? I mean, on a scale from 1 to 100, I guess leaders, depending on the context, but let's say politicians aren't up there. But I think that there's quite a few notable examples of people that have really stepped up, and I guess Australia's Prime Minister's one, where it's not a popularity contest. It's about people's lives and people's safety, and really tough decisions that one in a lifetime, I guess. Or do you think we trust our leaders more, or are we looking for that leadership, whether it's at work or in other contexts, where we just want to trust the leaders and believe in what they say?
I think this is such a novel situation in which we found ourselves, that we have no other choice but find some more source of of where we can rely on some type of knowledge and expertise and reference point that we can rely on, because we know so little about what is happening. And what's more important, while it happens, our own perspective change, which is another skill that the leaders will need. And I think being able to admit that one might have been wrong builds a lot of that trust that is necessary for us to trust those leaders as we move along, which is still a very unpredictable situation. So I feel like some leaders created an amazing response, and of course we all know who they are in a kind of international scale, with New Zealand probably being praised the most strongly. But we also see that some leaders are not doing that great, and there is a little bit of of an ignorance and the assumption that I'm bigger than anything. So I find that again, that element of humility is really necessary. And one of the things which we are reflecting upon in this new context is that whether any situation, especially such a global problem like the one we are facing, we should reframe our thinking about leadership from one individual to a collective effort. Because while there might be one voice whom we hear talking in the press conference, the amount of knowledge, expertise, perspectives that contributed to that is probably much more than that one leader who then gets to speak out that one talk once a week on TV. So I think the notion of collective leadership is something that we should recognize more strongly.
And just a bit closer to your own backyard, because you work at a very big university. What's happening in your world? What's the leadership like there?
I think it's very, in some way, entertaining to watch it from a perspective of an insider, where we are supposed to teach about, as you say, agility and all those fancy words, and then facing it ourselves and realizing, wow, are we so agile ourselves, and how can we respond to that? I have to say that the university as a community have really stood up to the challenge extremely well. And under the circumstances in which everyone's workload has increased tremendously, the financial conditions might have been impacted. Everyone needed to move, or many of us had to move to homeschooling. I found that flexibility levels were extremely high, and everyone's willing to contribute to everything that is happening to make it a success. So I think that perspective that have worked really well. From the perspective of students, I think there is still a lot that we can and we should do, because I think the impact of social isolation on many of those young people who moved all over the world to live a beautiful dream in Australia, for some of them that's not the reality they are living. So we are still going to see the mental health consequences of this situation.
Right, thank you. Aga, what were the 2 islands that you lived on? I'm dying to learn.
Right, obviously one was Scotland. I did live a few years in Scotland, in Glasgow. And the second island was Japan. So I've been living 7 years in Japan before moving to Australia.
But Australia's the 3rd one, right? But pretty big one.
Well,
So
I wouldn't call Australia an island, but yeah.
Right. So tell us, what are you finding challenging? Because you work a lot in the business space and a lot with women, and you do coaching, you inspire other people. How has it been for you this last few months?
Certainly. From my personal perspective, I would say that I think I'm lucky that life prepared me for what's actually coming. For the past 7 years, I was in charge of APAC region, managing and working with virtual teams. So for me, going online, it was a natural move. And thanks to this one, actually, I had the space to be more supportive and give help to those in need. So as you mentioned, I'm also working on coaching. So when the crisis came, I started working with our Polish community here in Australia, where I offered my free services to support those in crisis, right? When the whole situation happened, a number of people lost the job. What happened is that they became very stressed. They didn't know what's going to happen. They start panicking. So from my perspective, because for me the situation was under the control, I could actually give myself to those that needed. And what I could say is that there were quite a number of people who needed the support. So being outside of the home country, being in Australia as an immigrant, as the previous speaker mentioned, people are actually not yet in this dreamland. They're facing way more challenges that they expected to face.
And was there anything that surprised you in particular about what's been happening?
Yes. So as someone who was born in Poland during the communism time, honestly, I never, ever thought that I will ever see empty shelves, that I will see the panic in people's eyes in the shops about what's going to happen, how am I going to feed my family. So that's something that surprised me. I never thought I will have to actually face it again, that I will see it again. But at the same time, I was very positively surprised with the way how Australia handled it, how people were actually supporting each other's, how the neighborhoods were out there for the people living here. So it was a very nice, pleasant surprise.
So overall tough times though, but is there anything from this experience that you're going to keep? Are there any sort of silver linings in this cloud, I guess, or something that you could share with us about that you've changed and you're going to live it that way?
Right. One of the things is the routine that I implemented in the past few months. So I was always kind of like a tornado, coming in, coming out, with this 1,000 ideas and activities per minute. And being locked down at home, working with my clients online, actually forced me to implement the routines in my daily life. And what I observed, they're extremely powerful. They actually help me better manage my time, better manage myself. And this is something that I would like to maintain after the entire difficult situation. The other thing that helped me, and this is what I would like to share also with everyone, is the experience I brought from Japan. Is about actually finding yourself in a time, calming down and taking the time, get yourself the space, give yourself the time, and don't try not to get stressed. The things will pass on, and you'll be fine. So this is something that definitely I will be also working with the other people to explain how you can enjoy the current situation despite the circumstances.
So it sounds like you're a bit of an eternal optimist. You believe that things will get better.
If you live in 7 countries, if you move from one country to another, if you work with a number of cultures and have a daily challenges, you have to be optimist. Otherwise, you cannot have such life. So yes, I am. I believe it's going to be, the better days are coming tomorrow.
Right. Well, that's a very good message, with which we're going to move on to Lucyna. And Lucyna works for a educational sector where there's been a lot of disruption. And we had a chat yesterday, and she shared some of the challenges with me. So, Lucyna, could you tell us what's happening, and how are you pivoting? Let's use this word, because you might potentially be looking at even a change of career. Who knows? Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so a little bit like what Bettina's already mentioned. So this is happening at the University of Sydney. This is happening even more at the University of universities in Melbourne. I work for the University, specifically Monash College. So when this situation erupted in Wuhan, this is the time when this already started disrupting our work. So not when we got the first case in Australia, but when Chinese got the first case in Wuhan, this is where my students started to panic. And I was a bit oblivious, thinking, oh, come on, guys, can't be that bad. But then it just became from bad to worse. And all of a sudden, I just found myself being like this, mother hen who's got 2 kids at home and 18 in the classroom, and all of a sudden I needed to increase, because we always do a lot of the pastoral care when we are teachers, but most of our job is obviously focusing on teaching and educating those kids and preparing them for what's coming. But in that particular time when it all started, there was a massive shift in what my focus needed to be. So I needed to be more the mother, and I needed to sort of put myself in the shoes of the parents, the Chinese parents who sent those kids over here just before Christmas, and found out right after Christmas that they cannot come back to China anytime soon, because this pandemic, well, back then it wasn't pandemic as yet, but this virus started spreading. And then when we found the first case in Melbourne, these parents started panicking even more. Obviously, I think I'd be the same if my kids were on the other side of the world, thinking, are they really safe there? So I had to take that role of the mother, of the father, and showing them and showing the parents that we've got this, it's not going to be a disaster. Initially, obviously, there was a lot of hate also towards the Chinese. There was a lot of racial discrimination happening, because a lot of people were blaming them for bringing the virus here, which was obviously not the case. But that's the first thing we had to deal with. And then when we moved to online teaching, just like Bettina mentioned earlier, my 6-hour day turned into a 10-hour day, and my 5-day week turned into a 7-day week. And it's been like this. And at the moment, we're going through the exam period, which is extremely stressful, not only for us, but for our students, for everyone involved. And I totally agree with what Bettina has said earlier. It's amazing to see how in this particular moment, even though we're not making any more money, and there is the perspective that we will not have a job in a couple of months, and this college may not exist in 6 months' time, if we don't get any new students, which is a very real perspective. We're still all putting in all those hours, and we're putting those hours with the smiles on our face, because we need to show those kids we've got this. if we show them our panic, if we show them that we are in any way stressed by the situation, that would just transform right away, and that would just end in disaster. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure on me sort of putting the brave face, and I sometimes feel that it's quite a lot, to be honest. And there are times when I literally have to stand back and just say, okay, I need to rethink this, and I need to recharge the batteries, and I need to face this again with a fresh perspective. And what we're talking about today, that agility, the resilience, is what the students are needing or need from me at the moment. And I need to find it somewhere so I can pass it on, you know. So yeah, it's very challenging times, and I'm glad that everyone else mentioned that this is the time for learning, this is the time to shift in our thinking. And I think in education, it's going to be, especially tertiary education, I think it came to the point that what we were doing was wrong. We put all the eggs in one basket. We were just basically milking those international students, sorry for the expression, thinking that's going to last forever. And we thought, you know, the innovations that we're introducing and all these new ways of teaching are absolutely amazing, but at the moment they're not. So all of this we were not prepared for sure. We've never ever thought that we'd be teaching English or preparing students for the university courses online. It's not easy. I'm a bit like Monika from Sydney, a little pocket rocket, they call me. And all of a sudden I have to sit on my bum for most of my day, which is very difficult. But I reckon at the end of the day, we're going to see a light at the end of this tunnel, and we will have to shift. We will have to change careers. We will have to change the way we think about education. We will have to change the way we do things. And you know, as Polish women, I think we can do that. We can do that. We have done a lot. We haven't done anything like that before, but still the challenge is what we always take on. And I've never seen a Polish woman, Matka Polka, we say, Polish mother, crumbling under the pressure. So I reckon I've got this positive perspective, just like Aga, that things will change, and will change for better someday, one day.
Okay. So before I move on to ask Monika some difficult questions, I just wanted to thank you, Lucyna, for sharing that, because it mustn't be easy. So we all, you know, trying to hold it together, and you know, I certainly put a lot of, not that I put a positive spin, but I'm you know, my work and private life has blended. Like there's no start and there's no end. And I think what you've talked about just really resonated with me, because you not only have your students, you not only have your family, but you have like 7,000 Polish people on your Facebook page, right? And they come to you with every single, right?
Yeah. Well,
so I think,
yeah.
So I'll just say, yeah, go on.
I'll just finish on that. So this is a very similar situation to what Monika, our consul, is experiencing, because those people, before they get to you with their frustrations, they spill the frustrations on Facebook to start with. So yeah, it's a lot of work. I have to moderate a lot of you know, uncensored language. But it's another layer, and these people do need that sort of platform, and the people need someone to talk to, or someone to express their thoughts and views on certain things that are going on around them, and they look for support and help there as well.
We're very, very lucky to have it. Yeah, we're very lucky to have you, Lucyna. So Monika, we've already mentioned that you work as a barrister, so a very important job, but equally important is your directorship of the Polish Festival. And we all turn up, you know, in November. I think it's second Sunday every November or something like that. And it's a fantastic day, but there must be so much work going on behind the scenes. Could you tell us more about what happens? Firstly, why did you get involved, being a third generation Pole? Are the Polish traditions sort of very much supported in your home, or how did you get involved?
Yes, the Polish traditions are very much supported in the home. So I'm grateful to my mama and my tata, my mum and dad, for passing those traditions on. Also, with working parents who ran their own business, inevitably we spent a lot of time with our babcia and our jaja, so had the benefit of their traditions being passed on. And I suppose my reason for involvement probably began as a child, because it was an interesting activity to do, and then being sent to Harcerstwo and Polon, there's the Polish dance group, a number of other sort of Polish activities. You met people who had similar experiences to you. So the one that always sticks in my head is being sent to school with a sandwich made of rye bread filled with pickles that was very, very different to the peanut butter and jam on white or ham and cheese if people were being crazy sort of school, being crazy at school. So having that experience and being able to share that experience with people that were also sent to school with rye sandwiches gave me the opportunity to understand my culture a little bit more and the culture of my grandparents. And the reason I stayed involved in the Polish culture is because I, oddly enough, described myself as Polish. I mean, my maiden name was Paszkiewicz, so I needed an explanation because that's quite difficult for people in Australia to say. I stayed involved in the Polish culture because it's a culture that my grandparents fought for and fought to maintain when they left the country for no choice of their own. So, you know, my grandparents on my grandmother and my grandparents on my father's side were deported to Siberia. My grandfather came through Germany. It was not an easy journey for them. Nevertheless, once they found themselves on the other side of the world in a country that they'd never even heard of, they fought to maintain that culture and that heritage. And I sort of consider it an honour, but also an onus to maintain that culture here for not only for recent immigrants, but also for people whose stories are similar to mine, so second generation, third generation. In terms of the work that goes on for the Polish Festival, it is enormous. It's quite a lot of work. Thankfully, I have a very, very good committee that supports me, full of volunteers. Everyone who does it out of the goodness of their heart. We often get shock from stakeholders and sponsors when they realise that no one's paid for the work that they do, but we all do it because we see the importance of having one festival in Melbourne that is for the Polish community, but also for the Melbourne community. So I think what distinguishes our festival from other community festivals within the Polish community is that our aim is to bring a taste of Poland to Melbourne. So to bring a taste of Polish culture to a broader Australian community, because there is so much to share about the Polish culture that is fantastic and brilliant and simply unknown this far on the other side of the world. So to be able to bring that to so many people for so long, it's a lot of work, but it certainly is. It's a pleasure. It really is.
Right. And what about your day job, Monika? You work as a barrister. It's a tough job. What has changed? Are you working? Are you still going to courts? What's been happening?
I think the courts have been obviously are not immune, and the legal system is not immune to the impacts of COVID. But it has been, as Anna was talking about, this provides an opportunity. Every sort of adversity provides an opportunity, and in my opinion, it has done so for the legal profession. So you wouldn't have thought that the legal profession is one that was traditionally thought of as agile or able to move very quickly or adapt very quickly. But and indeed, there's been discussions for decades about the need to bring the legal profession in touch with technology and to embrace technology as part of the legal profession. But there has always been this fear about change, and there's always been this fear about straying from the known. And what COVID has done has forced us to stray from the known. So most of the hearings are online now. Judges are having to use online platforms, WebEx, Microsoft Teams, Zoom in some cases. They're having to use those to conduct hearings. Some hearings are having to be conducted in person just by the nature of them. And some hearings, unfortunately, aren't able to run. So ones with jury trials is just simply unfeasible to do with that much technology. It provides its own challenges. So sometimes, just by the nature of technology, some things can, if a hearing was listed for a day, it might take 3 days because all it takes is for a bad internet connection, and then 300 different questions ends up extending it out. But it has provided, I think it's provided an opportunity for those who were scared of embracing technology because they were concerned that it would fundamentally change our justice system. It's provided them with a level of trust to see that this does work. Not for everything. There is a place in our justice system for jury trials, and they can't be conducted online. They simply can't. But other things that can be conducted online, I think, will continue into the future. I think the court now has the technology and the faith that this is an efficient way of conducting litigation, which is the most, I suppose, the biggest issue with conducting litigation in Australia is inefficiencies and the costs associated with those inefficiencies.
So you probably think, and as many other people do, that some of these efficiencies will continue to be applied, or we're going to get better at technology, and because technology is also so stressful. I don't know whether you guys find this, but like even before this session, we practice and we, I took maybe 3 hours to set everything up because I was paranoid that things aren't going to work, because they often don't, right? And I think it's really interesting that we've progressed so much in so many different areas, but we yet to catch up in many others. And one of the things that we need to catch up is, we're not, I'm not a digital native, but I'm pretty okay with a lot of things. But there are so many people that aren't. There's literacy issues, there's inability to use technology the way that we can. So I think there'll be that's a revolution. I think that Anna, maybe mentioned that we need to come on that journey, and we need to drag everybody along. And not all of it is fantastic either, because to lose the human touch and all of that, that's a concern for a lot of people. I would think. Would you believe that we've been online for an hour, so we have to wrap up, even though it's fascinating, loving it. So Monika, I will ask you one last question, and that is 14th of May 2021. What are we seeing?
It's me. So first of all, I agree with all ideas to be positive, although difficult, very difficult times for everybody, because as I said at the beginning, nobody was prepared for coronavirus. And what I would like to recommend for everybody is, like Anna said, that please find your time for yourself. I promised myself in a very difficult time, when I, of course, has had some thoughts, that I will do something for myself when we come back to normal times. First of all, maybe I will learn another foreign language or do something even at my age. I would like to learn something new, or not only new technologies, but I would like to say only that for Lucyna, for your Facebook or web page or something like that, please send all the people to our professional web page, because of the fake news about the transport, about the possibilities. Sometimes we need to explain them so simple things. Everything is on our webpage. I prepared in details with other consuls, the special information, even the special letters to help them to leave Australia. So please send them there. And I would like to say something for me very important. After pandemic, I hope that we remember that first and foremost, we all are all human beings with feelings. And we cannot forget basic human values like respect, compassion, and kindness. And as humans, we need another human to exist. I hope that in May, we will be still full of life and full of feelings, good feelings, human beings. And I would like to say something in Polish. Chciałabym zobaczyć człowieka w człowieku.
Very inspirational words.
That's my motto for 2022.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I'll hand over to you now with a similar question, and perhaps if you could frame it around, business and leadership in leadership in the business context, I guess, is what I'm asking whether you could do, and just think forward. What's likely to happen? I mean, if you had a crystal ball in the next 12 months, what are we seeing? Do you think? I know it's a difficult question, Sarah.
Yes, indeed, it is. But it's always obviously hard to, after such a beautiful words and such a great sentence that Ms. Council just shared with us, that it's so important to find a human being in ourselves to really reflect about what's going on in the next 12 months. So very strongly, I would start with the business first and then probably reflect what does it mean for us here in Australia. So probably we all do see the news and the predictions for the next couple of months. Particularly here in Australia, we will be probably experiencing a business slowdown. It has been predicted before COVID-19, and COVID-19 obviously is going to extend and make it probably a bit longer. So the first possible signs are expected somewhere at the end of 2020, and probably we will recover somewhere around 2021. That's what the smart people are saying. They spend a lot of time reading and predicting the future. It's not me. I cannot tell that it's my knowledge. What I can say from my experience is that in the next couple of months, we will be slowly returning back to the offices and to our workplaces. But we probably in the next 12 months will never come back in the same way as we would imagine to old world. I don't really believe that we're going to have old world. I think the world's going to change because for the first couple of months, still we won't find a vaccine. We will be still practicing social distancing, which is an interesting and new experience for all of us. Later on, I would expect that we're going to see some significant changes, particularly in the real estate and the way we organize our offices, the way we organize, the way we serve people, but also the way we, eat and enjoy our leisure time. So that's probably something that we hear, what we see, and what's the prediction from the economists. I think for me personally, I'm very much excited, and I really, really cannot wait when I can finally see my team in person, when I can finally spend time with them. But I'm also very conscious, and I'm very much aware that at the time that it's given to us now is given for a reason. And I really hope that each of you will dedicate that time to find something that makes you really happy. So if I have this one more sentence to wish you something, I wish each of you to find time to reconnect with yourself, reconnect with your family, with your friends, and find the happiness. I think it is an opportunity for us to be to redefine ourselves again.
Yeah, wow, thank you. Bettina, what's the new normal gonna look like, do you think?
Just very globally, you mean, or any specific focus you would like to do new normal?
How about it's up to you? Tell us whatever comes to mind.
I think you know, there are some very engraved behavior in people that I think much will not change. And I had, you know, a good laugh with a good Italian friend of mine, because the moment, you know, some of the social distancing requirements were lifted last weekend, she came over and gave me a big hug, and, you know, was back herself and you know, embracing physical contact at the fullest. And I thought, you know, some things will never change. At the same time, I think what is gonna, you know, the new normal will be, I think there will be many smarter ways in which we're going to work. I think that we have realized that there is a lot of, you know, waste and noise that we are producing, and we can live without it. And I think there is this, you know, I have someone who sent it to me recently, rethinking what we are going to allow to let in back into our lives when in many ways our lives reopen. And maybe the busyness that we've been used to, maybe the, you know, preoccupation with everything and anything, maybe now we will be more selective as to what are going to be the choices and priorities. So I think I want to hope that the new normal will be a little bit more meaningful in some way, because all of us had a lot of time to rethink the purpose of everything we do. And I think that that's a positive thing the new normal hopefully will be looking like. That's a very positive outlook. I think this positivity was something that emanated from all of us today.
Yes, very much a common thread. Thank you, Bettina. Aga, what do you think? We catch up again at 10 p.m., 14th of May, 2021. What are we going to be talking about?
Well, I really do hope that for many people, impossible will actually become possible, right? So I think what we've learned into 2020 about remote work being actually able to be conducted, about the ability to build and deepen the relations we have with our friends, with our family, with our business partners is possible. That it is important to actually take the time for ourselves and take care of our inner self. So I really do hope that the 2021 will be a lesson which we're not gonna waste. I'm a little bit afraid that we might just jump into our new lives, which we remember from 3 months ago, forgetting about what happened, and we're just gonna enjoy the current days. But yeah, again, let's be positive that 2021 is gonna be a good year, full of new experiences, full of new opportunities, and what's more, people who are brave enough to reach them, to chase them and go for them.
Amazing, really inspirational. I'll shift our focus onto Lucyna, who's been talking about leadership in a very gutsy. I have to say that you know, your little presentation there really inspired me. What's in store for you and your Facebook page and your students and your kids and your community? Because you're such a, you know, positive, like it emanates from you. What do you think is ahead of us?
I just, I believe and I hope this will happen, that we will learn to appreciate the little things that we took for granted a little bit more. So in the past, for example, if we had, you know, 10 different Polish events happening in Melbourne in 1 month, people would be complaining, oh, why don't we have this? Or I don't want to go to that. I don't want to go to that. Too many, or this is not fun, or this is too far away. I think we're going to appreciate, like it was in the past, like in the 80s, you know, when people could go to the Polish club and meet with a few friends and have that Polish sabowy and beer and whatever. We're going to appreciate that again a little bit more. We're going to appreciate that coffee with a friend. We're going to appreciate the fact that we can go for a hike together, that sort of thing. And just hope that this will continue, not only in 2021, but for the rest of our lives, because that's ultimately what we are going to be showing to our kids as well, that this is, which Monika was referring to, this is our culture, and in our culture this is what we do. And if we appreciate that every single time we experience that, our children will appreciate that too. So I just hope that this is what's going to happen with my students. I really don't know. I'm imagining myself teaching a very small class of maybe 8, not 18. That would be great. Giving them a bit more attention and hopefully not being overtired because of that. So yeah, that's my perspective for future.
Thank you. And Monica, they in Melbourne, before we imagine 14th of May 2021, let's go to November 2020, because the festival's happening as planned. Is that right? That's the plan. Are you going to be agile and resilient? Is my question.
I think we have to be. I mean, hopefully, I was just thinking about if you're going to ask me what happened in May 2021. And then hopefully everyone has been enjoying a lovely festival on the 20th of the 17th of November 2020. But the plan at this stage is for the festival to proceed, and I think that's because we have an obligation for it to proceed. As much of a pleasure as it is to run the festival, its job is to promote Polish culture in Australia, and we have to provide, we have to be that light at the end of the tunnel that Lucyna was talking about. We provide that opportunity. We have an obligation, in my view, to our stall holders, who are predominantly small businesses, recent immigrants who started small businesses like food trucks or jewellery businesses, bringing over that are based on their culture, bringing that culture across. So we have an obligation, in my view, to those small businesses who are doing it pretty tough in Australia, and I imagine all over the world. And we have an obligation to be, in my view, a positive example of resilience and fortitude rather than giving up completely. So rather than saying, well, you know, too hard, I'll handball that to a future date, in my view, it's our obligation to show that this is something important that we can mould to fit whatever the obligations are that are imposed by the government, social distancing, those sort of things. But we need to show flexibility, and we need to show our resilience, which in my mind is sort of a cornerstone of not only leadership but also a Polish DNA. I think we're a pretty resilient bunch that's bred into our bones. So that's the aspect of Polish culture that we're going to show off this year, is our resilience.
Yeah. And I don't think we could finish this session any better than what you've just said. So thank you. And we look forward to attending the festival, supporting the festival, and being there and enjoying all of that you've mentioned. And at a personal level, I just wanted to thank you all for being part of this. And I know it was a last-minute mad idea. And you have no idea, really, truly, how much I appreciate that you've not only stayed up till 11 o'clock, even though everyone's really busy and tired and possibly grumpy. I really have learned so much, and I feel that we're connected. And I'm hoping that what we just did tonight will make waves out there. Yes, we are 16,000 kilometers away, but look at what a powerhouse, what an amazing strength, and how much sort of raw emotion, vulnerability, but also positivity. And I wanted to thank each and every one of you. So Anna, Monica from Melbourne, Pani Monica from Sydney, Lucyna, Bettina, and Aga, thank you so very much. I hope to see you in person soon enough, but if not, we're going to do it again next year, right?
Yes, definitely. Thank you
So
for having us.
I'll hand over to the organizers, which are not far away. And once again, thank you, and have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
See you. Good night.
Thank you.
See ya.
See you.
Tak, szanowni państwo, nie wiem, czy mnie słychać, halo. Drodzy
Tak,
Państwo,
słychać? Tak,
ja
słychać.
już z Polski bardzo serdecznie dziękuję i pozdrawiam wszystkie Panie. Dzisiaj panel mocno zfeminizowany, ale wspaniała energia od Pań płynie. Ja przeszedłem już na język polski, dlatego że tak naprawdę nadajemy z Polski dzięki gościnności Centrum Wystawienniczo-Kongresowego G2 Arena w Jasionce koło Rzeszowa, która nas gości. Halo Australia dzisiaj na Państwa ekranach, dzięki również technologii online i internetowi. Dziękujemy serdecznie naszym wspaniałym panelistkom. Dziękujemy Pani Ewie za moderację i przedstawienie, przeprowadzenie dzisiejszego panelu. Szanowni Państwo, to już czwarty odcinek naszego cyklu konferencji. Wcześniej była Hiszpania, Wielka Brytania, Stany Zjednoczone. Przypomnę również, że całą dzisiejszą konferencję, która była prowadzona w języku angielskim, już niebawem udostępnimy również z transkrypcją na język polski. Zachęcam więc do śledzenia naszego profilu Kongres 60 milionów na Facebooku. Natomiast już teraz również Państwa zaproszę na kolejne konferencje i kolejne formaty z 1 na 1, gdzie będziemy przedstawiać konkretne osoby w formacie 60 Million People oraz format biznesowy 60 Million Economy, gdzie będziemy dyskutować o tematach gospodarczych na wskroś przez cały świat, również dzięki Polonii mieszkającej tak daleko jak właśnie w Australii. Bardzo serdecznie dziękuję wszystkim paniom prelegentom za dzisiejsze spotkanie i cóż, widzimy się już za tydzień na kolejnym spotkaniu w ramach Kongresu 60 milionów. Niestety z uwagi na sytuację na świecie w stylu online, ale miejmy nadzieję, że dzięki temu również poszerzymy sferę kontaktów, aby już kiedy się to wszystko skończy, spotkać się również na upragnionym spotkaniu w realu, na kongresach 60 milionów, na globalnym zjeździe Polonii, gdzie integrujemy się nie tylko osobiście, ale również gospodarczo i walczymy o to, aby jak najlepiej funkcjonować na całym globie jako Polacy i Polonia. Dziękujemy serdecznie, do zobaczenia już niebawem.
Do zobaczenia. Do zobaczenia.
Dziękujemy
Zapraszamy
bardzo.
do Australii. Zapraszamy do Australii.